My dad was talking about going to Thailand for the funeral and all the things, and my kids are now asking, like, oh, when do we get to go to Thailand? So growing up Buddhist in a very Christian, specifically Southern Baptist kind of space was really hard for me because I always felt like an outsider.
Hello สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ Welcome to THAISPORA, the video podcast about the stories of the Thai and Thai diaspora communities in and outside of Thailand. I'm excited to have Nisa with me, who is a chemistry professor in the state of California and also Thai American and also a mother. Welcome.
Hi, sawadika. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today and speaking with me today. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm really excited. I rarely get to talk about being Thai and actually using Thai phrases in conversation. So I'm really excited to do that, I guess.
Are there like any phrases or words that you like to use in the Thai language?
Well, I guess like what comes up the most at home is always when I'm actually like disciplining my children, which is kind of ironic. 'Cause sometimes they'll do stuff and I will automatically just be like, "Oy, my owl," or something like that. And
Yeah, that sounds so much like my mother, my Thai mother. Yeah, I think it's just normal actually that we are tend to use actually our mother language if it's about like emotional things.
like if you're mad at something, like just saying like "hoy" is just really, it feels so much better than going like, "Oh man," or
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, today's episode will be about you, about your life and your path becoming a scientist, and also your thoughts on raising children in a multicultural environment. But before I ask you some serious questions, I do this with every guest beforehand that I'd like to play a little pop game or pop quiz, so to say, with everyone so that the audience can get to know more about you. This episode is brought to you by me. This podcast aims to shine a light on communities that have often been overlooked, or rather, underrepresented in Western media. In a fast-paced world like ours, I want to tell stories that leave a lasting impression. Creating them in a video format is not only something that I enjoy, but also a way for me to reconnect with and explore my Thai heritage. That said, none of this would be possible without you. You help keep this podcast stay afloat. I know nearly every piece of content out there is asking you to like, share, and subscribe. Mine is no different. But truly, I'm grateful for every bit of support and engagement. Thank you, and ขอบคุณค่ะ
oh, sure. Sounds fun.
Okay, cool. So I will introduce you to some phrases and I would like you to complete them. I associate Thailand with
Food and smiles. Whenever someone hears that you are from Thailand, people always talk about, oh, what's your favorite Thai restaurant in this area? Or, oh, I've been to Thailand and my favorite thing was the food. And then they'll name some random food that they've tried. But they will also always say that everyone was so friendly, everyone was so nice. And like the Thai tourism campaign, the land of the smiles, I think those are things that always come to mind.
Sometimes I get also the questions concerning restaurants, like Thai restaurants.
Yeah.
And they ask me, oh, which restaurant would you recommend in this city? And which restaurant which should I visit? And I'm like, I haven't been to many Thai restaurants in my city because most of the time I cook Thai food at home.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like the menus in Thai restaurants, especially in the US, are all basically the same. Like you have your 3 color curries. Sometimes you'll have pineapple curry or duck curry, and then you'll have your basic fried rices and then the basic noodle set, right? It's very rare unless you're in LA. to find like a restaurant that's really dedicated to like the real street food or the way that things are supposed to taste. So I have a hard time because I like to just make what I want to make at home, and I don't feel like I need to pay a lot of money for like green curry or something like that.
Most often, the Thai restaurants outside of Thailand, they only offer like a generalization of Thai cuisine. And this is mostly like the three curries that you said before,
Mm.
and pad Thai and some other dishes that mostly like foreigners would like. Okay, next phrase. As a Thai woman in the States,
I feel underrepresented because a lot of the Asian American narrative in the US is based on Eastern Asian culture. I feel semi understood because of that, because there's a lot of overlap between Eastern Asian culture and Thai culture. But also at the same time, I feel unique because I am different, though I am the same, but I am different.
I mean, there are many Thai Chinese people in and outside of Thailand, and there are a lot of influences from China in Thailand that you can easily detect. But I
Yeah.
also feel invisible in Europe. It's not because there aren't many Southeast Asians or Thai people here. It's just like there there's more media representation of East Asians rather than Southeast Asians.
Right.
And I don't see myself reflected in this kind of media.
I watched the movie Joyride recently. I don't know if have you heard of that movie? Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
saw that at OM too, yeah.
yeah, it is really funny. But the writer, one of the main writers from that is a writer from Family Guy. Cherry, I forget. She always cuts off her last name because it's always too long and too hard to pronounce for people, I guess. But I was talking about this with another friend because she had never heard of Thai people in media, and I was like, "Well, have you seen Family Guy?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, of course, I love Family Guy." And then I pointed out, you know, that person on the credits, she is Thai, you know, and then this movie, she is Thai. So it's yeah, it's really hard to find just any sort of representation.
Next one. I'm attracted to people who have or who are.
Oh, this one's hard. I am attracted to people who have or who are open to new experiences and hearing about
Mhm.
new stories and accepting of people who are different because I feel like everyone has a story to share, though that story can come from many different directions. And I think having an open mind and open ears is always great for a great conversation.
I find it also more intriguing to talk with someone who has an open mindset and has also experienced a lot of different things.
Mhm.
And this is so, for me, it's very enriching.
I kind of feel like you heal a little part of yourself when you're able to share and talk to other people around you, even if the person you're talking to isn't the carbon copy of yourself, you know? Like, there's just
Mm.
that ability to converse and share kind of helps you move forward.
Next one. This really turns me off.
Well, I suppose it is the opposite of the previous question. What really turns me off is the inability to listen and to accept that there are differences out there in the world.
Okay, next one. People assume that I.
Oh, people assume that I am not Thai. Usually they assume I'm Hawaiian. One time I got Alaskan, like Inuit, um, but everything not Thai. People assume that I am quiet and will not talk back. And people assume that I won't have an opinion. I think it has to do with the Asian stereotypes, especially being an Asian female and that stereotype, because we're always cast as docile and quiet and easily malleable, especially when some folks find out that you're from Thailand. I think that there's sometimes a misconception that you're just going to be literally from the land of smiles and you're going to smile and just pretend it's all okay.
I think that also people only see the surface of Thai people, and
Right.
this is kind of like a stigma. especially the friendliness and that the people are so showing hospitality towards foreigners.
Right.
That this everything is actually also a part of coping and also to survive actually. Otherwise people wouldn't go there to Thailand and spend their time there if they see, oh, these people are grumpy, I don't come to this country anymore. So people have to smile. Okay, last one. I'm happy when.
I'm happy when my children are happy. I'm happy when I have helped everybody reach their own potential, even if that means I haven't reached my own quite yet. I'm a very serviceable kind of person, I think. And I'm happy when I can look at my Hello Kitty collection, I guess.
Which item is the most precious for you?
Oh, of my collection? Oh, okay, hold on. Let me go grab it.
You have it with you. Oh my gosh, what is this?
So this is Hello Kitty collaboration with Dr. Romanelli. And so you can see her little organs inside of her, right? And they all have bows and they're all smiling. And I got this piece in Austin like 20 years ago, I think. But that's my favorite one. I have a whole bunch of things.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so adorable.
Thank you. I also have a Hello Kitty tattoo. This is part of a big part of my personality is all my Hello Kitty stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, Hello Kitty, she's an icon.
I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, which, if you're not familiar with the layout of Texas, because it's gigantic, but Fort Worth is right beside Dallas. So collectively, they're the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and it's in the north central part of the state. My parents had immigrated to Texas as students in the 70s. They were familiar with each other in Thailand, but then they actually met each other and decided to get married when they were in the States, when they met at university. And yeah, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area my whole life. Went to school there, got my undergrad degree in chemistry, and then went to grad school at the University of North Texas, which is, again, still that same geographical region, and earned my PhD in 2012. After that, I kind of decided that I really needed a change of scenery because just living in Texas your whole life, it's great, but it's also, you have your blinders on because you don't know what the rest of the world is like and you want to see what it's going to be. So after I graduated, I taught at a few different teaching positions around the country. I've taught in Vermont as well as Portland, Oregon, and now we're settled here in California. So growing up, it's very, I wouldn't say like very industrial, but it's definitely a flatter part of the state. You have a lot of businesses, a lot of industry, kind of just like any other big city. During the 80s and 90s, it was very a lot of Vietnamese refugees as well as Chinese and Eastern Asian communities. So not a lot of Thai people at all. There is a Wat Thai in Dallas that was very small and is now bigger. There is also a Lao Thai temple in a city called Keller, Texas, which is a little north of Fort Worth, and that one is also growing as well. So like little pockets of communities like that. But in Dallas-Fort Worth, you're going to get a lot of different things like barbecue, really good barbecue. It's not as liberal as Austin, which is kind of it's the capital of Texas, but it's also more central Texas. Austin, you might have heard, is you keep Austin weird because that's where all the liberal people are, and so it's not as liberal as Austin. But it's also not as built on oil as cities like Houston. So I think I've heard people refer to Dallas-Fort Worth as a place for new money because it's kind of not as developed, not as old historically as some of the other places.
And how about your connections with the Thai community in Texas?
When I was in middle school, the Wat Dallas Temple, they started doing Thai school on the weekends and also during summer as a summer camp. So my mom got really excited about this because while I could speak conversational Thai, I couldn't read. I was like a kindergartner at that point reading. She got really excited and she put my sister and I into um, Thai school, and we went every Saturday, and then we went every day during the summer. And we did that for a good 4 or 5 years, I think. We learned language, we learned culture, we learned music and dancing. I feel like a lot of my childhood was always spent at the temple, just hanging out, whether that's because I was doing Thai school stuff or my mom was doing stuff with the monks or with the teachers, or my dad was helping do stuff around the temple and all of that. It's very much a core memory. It's just like Saturday, just go hang out at the what and get lunch.
Yeah, I heard this about a lot of other Thai Americans that they spend so many time at Wat Thai or at the Thai Buddhist temple, not because for religious reasons, but for socializing with other people or learning something about Thai culture or Thai language. Then I think it's so fascinating to hear that the Thai Buddhist temples in the US are so diverse. If I compare this to a Thai Buddhist temple in Germany, it's basically, yeah, Thai aunties go there, they spend food, a little bit of money as well to the monks, and they pray or they meditate, and then they gossip. That's it, actually. I've never, yeah, I've never went to to a Thai temple to learn something. I was just there to eat food and hang out with other kids.
My parents really wanted to move to California. I ended up moving there. They never got out of Texas. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't say like Texas was the top gold star choice. I think it was just the easiest choice to get in.
So you mentioned before that you lived at different places. You lived in Fort Worth, where you grew up, and you also lived in Vermont, you said before, and also Portland. And now you are living in Santa Maria,
Santa Maria. Yeah.
in California. How, I think we start first with California. How is living in California different from living in Texas for you?
Well, California is very liberal. The government, very liberal. Everything here is much more relaxed and more in my frame of mind than I ever had growing up. I enjoy it a lot because of the policies that really help shape my life and my children's lives. I guess the overall attitude of openness and acceptance of different races and different cultures and different religions, I think is really, really important. In Texas, it's not at all liberal. It's a red state. And there's Texas is in what we call the Bible Belt of the United States. And so it's part of the country where people are ultra conservative usually and pretty religious as well. So growing up Buddhist in a very Christian, specifically Southern Baptist kind of space was really hard for me because I always felt like an outsider. And so I think raising children in a place where they don't have to have those feelings, that they are different, is awesome.
I think Texas is pretty well known even for people who have never been to the US, because you hear so much about Texas and about its
All the crazy stuff.
all the crazy stuff, and it's very conservative, and
Oh,
people are really living their life according to the Bible. And the thing, there's always like a bit of truth within stereotypes, but this is like the thing that you always like associate with Texas, basically.
Yeah. God, guns, and glory.
All right, now getting in with the first one here. The first one is going to be the Canik Mete MC9 Prime. Put a smile on my face.
Oh my gosh, I've never get used to this to this phrase.
As I started studying, I started off college being pre-med because I thought to succeed, I need to be a medical doctor, of course. And then I ended up changing my major course of study 3 times. Um, over the time I was in college because, I starting off pre-med and then taking your first like big classes where you have to do a lot of dissections. I started realizing that maybe this is not for me because I cannot stand cutting things, dead things, and I can't stand blood, and it makes me disgusted. And I hate memorizing because you have to memorize so many different pathways for like physiology and things like that. And so I changed my major because I did research as an undergraduate student in the lab. And I was like, I really like working with my hands and I really like doing something in front of me to solve a problem. On a side kind of path, I was also very good at math. And so math and science kind of converge pretty well in chemistry and physics because there's so much of that overlap that happens there. And so I changed my major. I went from biology to biochemistry and then finally stopped at chemistry because I just couldn't decide. I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to be in the middle. Maybe I'll go to med school. And then I finally decided that it's just, I just can't, my heart is not in this and I don't want to do this anymore. So I switched all the way over to chemistry. I never thought I was going to teach. I thought I was going to go into industry because again, that whole like idea of like just doing something to solve a problem, like I felt like I could do that. I could be a manufacturer. But then in grad school, I had to do teaching as a teaching assistant. And I found that I really liked that. I really liked not just the doing part, but the conversing part of science and teaching people all the things that I love, all the things that I find fascinating about the world. And so I just kind of leaned into it. You don't pay a lot of teachers a lot of money. And because you don't pay them a lot of money, you don't inspire people to become teachers. Like it's a really bad circular problem, If you don't pay people, they're not going to want to do it. If they don't want to do it, the people who are going to be good educators are going to go elsewhere. But then where do you get the money from? You get the money from if you're in a public school and from taxes. Yeah, it's just a whole chicken egg kind of problem, You can't draw money out of thin air, but that's kind of what drives a lot of people is being able to support themselves financially.
Yeah, I also see some parallels to Germany where people don't want to become teachers even though they studied it. They did their masters in the subject, but they want to find a job in the industry rather than at schools because first the payment is quite low and second it's a super stressful job for them because they are so overwhelmed with work and they can't really like have a work-life balance anymore because it's like so much going on. And also like the rent prices are like skyrocketing right now in Germany, so it's very difficult like to become teachers due to these economic issues.
Right. And especially when like it's not just like a general education teacher, when you're looking for teachers who are of very specific disciplines, you have to look at like what is the industry like paying them if they weren't teachers, right? So like for students who graduate with science degrees, for them to teach science at high school, they have to have a teaching credential. They have to want to do it. And they also have to be willing to be paid a lot less than if they were working in a laboratory.
Are there specific values that you like to pass on your students?
Chemistry is a very difficult subject. I have to have a very high level of patience with them, but also show them that they have to have patience with themselves. Otherwise, it will not work because chemistry is like learning a new language or like riding a bike. You have to keep practicing it. And if you don't, it's not something you learn overnight. It's not something that you can just watch a YouTube video on and then you're good. You have to like, you have to keep doing it and you have to be patient with yourself and you have to understand that learning is also failing. That's a hard one, I think, is that learning is failing. And the same can be said in my social life as well. Like when you are learning how to enter a new group, when you are learning a new process, you are never going to be good at it at the very beginning. You have to be patient and keep working hard at it.
I mean, it's like a muscle, right? You have to train your muscle in order like uh to proceed certain things.
Great, great. Or like running a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, you cannot go run on the marathon tomorrow if you haven't trained it. If you haven't trained for it. Let's head to your social life and Thainess. How do you insert Thai culture in your everyday life? Are there certain rituals that you like to do with your children or alone?
I would say there aren't necessarily certain rituals. There are definitely a lot of it's food. A lot of it's food.
Food is also a ritual.
I guess it is, yeah. I was actually thinking about kind of this conversation we're having right now earlier today because I was mentally preparing, and to mentally prepare, I was making myself some food. And I was making fried rice, making khao pat. I always put a little bit of ketchup in my khao pat. So I do, yeah, like khao pat, ketchup and then Maggi. Those are the two
Mhm.
seasonings. And that's something I learned from my mom. And I did not realize that that's not something that non-Thai people do for a long time. And so my kids now, they're always like, "Oh, you know what makes mommy's fried rice very special?" When they tell their friends, "She puts ketchup in there, and I love ketchup." And so I think there are little nuances, little things that they are picking up on that I try to kind of fold into their lives. So food's definitely one of them. Because we're not very religious, we don't have any sort of prayer time or meditation time. I do try to, like, calm down my kids sometimes by talking about meditating and talking about how you can find a lot of value in just 10 minutes of, like, just doing nang samadhi and just chilling out for a little bit, you know?
Have you been to Thailand with your kids?
I have not. This is a recurring conversation, actually, that we just had yesterday. Yeah. Well, so, unfortunately, my relatives are at the stage of their lives where, older people are passing away.
Mhm.
So, my eldest aunt passed away recently, I think 2 months ago. My dad was talking about going to Thailand for the funeral and all the things, and my kids are now asking, like, "Oh, when do we get to go to Thailand?" And I don't know, this is such a hard thing. I went to Thailand every summer as a child. So I think at some point my body, like my will just gave up and was like, "Okay, 14 hours? Fine. I will just sit here and be bored out of my mind." They cannot handle a 3-hour car ride to Los Angeles. So I don't know how they're gonna make it 18 hours to Thailand. You know, the people who jokingly say, "Oh, it'll be fine, just give them a little bit of brandy," and then they'll, like, sleep the whole way.
What?
You give your baby just a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of brandy, and they'll just take a little
This is
nap.
insane. Perhaps you could like wait until your children get a bit older so that they are more
Robust.
robust. Yeah, more robust for long journeys.
My most favorite memories are sitting at my grandmother's table in her kitchen, with just the bags of fruit. Cause we would always go, well, not all the time, but every once in a while we would go during Noina season, which is like my favorite fruit. And the one that looks like the grenade, you know? And I just like remember like having the bags of all the fruits on the table and just like going to town with all this fruit. And it was such a different experience. It's a lot more like community to eat like out of a bag of like noina or durian or just ngọ than like eating, you know, just a bunch of grapes from like the supermarket in Dallas, you know? It's so different. I just feel like there's just so much like there's more things to do with your hands. You got a lot of cutting, a lot of
Mhm.
scooping. And then there's just so much conversation and then everything is just different and it's just like it's just fun. My mother's family also does a weekly dinner kind of thing where all of my cousins, my aunts and uncles, they would all come and they would meet at my grandmother's house.
Yeah, for me, it's also healing in a way to eat with people who look like me. They don't need to be my blood relatives, but like eating with people who are like sharing like a similar mindset and sharing food, because in Western societies you tend to have your own dishes, you have your own plate, and you don't share normally. And this is what I really miss from Thailand, this communal sense, and to share food, and also to share like stories together. How did you meet your husband?
I spent a lot of my young adulthood fighting being Asian. So I was convinced that what I needed was somebody who looked like Justin Timberlake. I needed this white boy who was tall, with blue eyes and blonde hair. Like that's all I needed. If you looked at my walls in high school, it was Justin Timberlake, it was Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, just a bunch of white boys. And so when I started dating, that is what I gravitated towards. I've dated different people of different colors, but I've never had dated an Asian person because I had been so against this idea that I needed to lean into what I was trying to fight. Then once all that like relationship stuff just like passed, I said, okay, maybe I need to have a reckoning, and maybe I need to just accept who I am. And this was part of like my self-love growth, was accepting who I am, that I am Asian American, that I am Thai, and I'm not just bound to one type of identity. So then I opened up my search, romantic search, to people of Asian descent. And so I tried online dating. I set my filter, because you can set your filter to races if you want to be like that. So I set my filter to Asian American, and I met my husband. My husband is mixed race. He is half Korean, half white.
I can also remember that my parents used to say, "Oh, you can date anyone, but don't date anyone with like a dark skin tone," because there's also like the trouble or the issues with colorism in Thailand, that people with dark skin tones aren't like societally acceptable in a
Right.
way.
Did
So,
your
and
parents have a hierarchy of people who you could date? Because my parents gave me a hierarchy.
yeah, my parents gave me a hierarchy too. So please, you can also date like white dudes and anything, but please no people with a dark skin tone.
Right.
And this was so in my mind inherently that I also wrote that in one of my diaries back then. Oh, I think I was like 12 or 11 years old or so, that I would like to find a boyfriend, but with no dark skin tone. And I mean, if I read it right now, it would be so cringe. But this was
Yeah.
the thing that my parents told me. And then I think my first boyfriend was actually half black and half white. So
Ooh.
I kind of like went against my parents' wishes.
But did your parents say, "Oh, it's okay because he's half"?
Yeah, I think so. That was like in a way. They were like, "Oh, it's fine. He's like half white."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding it also terrible, yes. How do you and your husband approach parenting? Is his parenting method different from yours?
We try to have our children have open dialogue when they're upset. I think that a lot of it comes from when we were growing up. Both myself as Asian American and him as mixed race, but with an Asian mother, that we were taught to internalize a lot of our feelings, or to just get over something and to not ever talk about it. And I think that we both try to really hard to get our kids to be who they are and to talk about their feelings. And also for us as parents to respond to those feelings, not in an upset way, but in an understanding kind of way. That's definitely part of like us trying to heal our generational trauma, is disconnecting that disconnection of feelings.
Yeah, I think it's really good that young generations, or like the generation after our parents, also focus more on mental health, and also to question like behaviors from our parents, because if I remember, I've never spoken that much about emotions or what's inside me with my parents, because I felt like a bit ashamed because they never talked about their emotions, and I relearn it in a way to be open about it and not to bottle up my feelings, because it could be devastating for my growth.
Right. Exactly. Like there, at the beginning of our conversation when we talked about like different phrases maybe that come up when in parenting and things like that. One thing that I have always had kind of a two-sided sword with is the phrase "may penai," because it's like you're trying to help somebody feel better by saying, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." But it's also that you are trying to shut down the acceptance of those feelings. You're just saying, "It's fine," and then that's it. It's a weird phrase because it's as a kid, you think, "Oh, it's okay. My mom said, 'May penai,' it's fine. Everything will be okay." But then it's really that you never got to process your emotions as a child.
Yeah, it feels like that with this phrase "ไม่เป็นไร" is kind of like a result of something, of a process that you want to achieve, but you
Yeah.
don't do the work or the effort to get to this result. For all new parents who are raising children with a multicultural background and with a blend of cultures, what kind of advice can you give to them?
Oh man. So your traumas do not have to be your children's traumas. They can help your children grow. What you perceive as dangers are not always going to be their dangers either. I think I was always afraid that, like, when my kids started school, that they were going to be made fun of because of how they looked. But then I had to realize that we're in a different place than where I was. And there are people who look like them or closer, not quite the same, but closer um, than what I had. Putting aside your own experiences, but never 100% closing the door is always going to be important with your own children. It's worth taking the time before you even have children to think about what parts of your childhood do you want to change? What chains do you wish to break? Like what I was talking about with talking about feelings, resolving them, and actually like having the full pathway of emotional resolution is important rather than just stopping it, just, turning it off right there and then. Just thinking about what you could do ahead of having children yourself. I would also, too, consider in the names of your children, what parts do you want to hold of your culture? Do you want to give them a name that is completely or culture blank? Or do you want to give them something that reflects where you came from? My children, their first and middle and last names are all non-Asian.
I've also heard from other guests on the show that a lot of their parents gave their kids like Western names because if they grow up in the West, in a Western country, it's easier for them to assimilate in a way to the society. But because I experience, because I have like a full Thai name, even my last name has all the all the letters of the alphabet and
20 letters.
20 letters, at least 20 letters. And also my first name sounds very manly. And so people don't know my gender actually. It was for me also a bit tricky growing up in Germany with this name and also looking Thai or looking Asian. And I always wish like, oh, why don't I have like a very easy name or like an easier name? But then after a while, I realized, oh, this is part of me and I cannot change that. I can only change my attitude and my behavior, and that's it. What are your future goals for in general?
My future goals. Oh man. Well, so currently I am trying to look at developing curriculum to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in sciences. Right now in the US, those three words are really hot button. And so it's hard to actually like put them down on paper, to try to write out a report or anything like that. But I have always been of the belief that science is something that's scary. Science is something that can be very not trusted, mistrusted because of bad experiences. Like, let's say, for example, people who don't trust doctors, medical doctors. It's usually because they've had a lot of bad experiences with being in the hospital and things like that, right? There's some sort of experience that led to that mistrust. For learning science and being a student in science, a lot of times your bad experiences as a student will put a bad flavor in your mouth and put up this mental block so that you are unwilling to learn more science, but also to be accepting of science. Like when it comes to public policy or things like that. And so I would love it if I could find a way to make science more inviting, to show people that science is something that is a different frame of thought, but it's not something that should be scary. It's not something that should be mistrusted. There's value in it. But there's also value in science not being a all-white field. There are lots of people who are represented here. So women, people of color, people with disabilities. And so I aim to develop curriculum that shows people all of these different facets of my field of study so that I can promote science as a field itself.
It's so important to have this diverse representation when it comes to science, because especially in Western countries, you see mostly like white people in higher positions, in higher teaching positions.
Right.
And if you don't, again, back to our beginning, if you don't see yourself reflected in these positions of authority, then it's pretty hard like to get access to the topics.
Right. Right. It's hard to get access, and you also feel like as an outsider that you don't belong there. Like if you I think it's very human to naturally gravitate to spaces where you see yourself. Even if like you're at a party, right? If you don't know anybody, more than likely you're gonna go towards somebody who reflects something of yourself that you appreciate, whether it's your race or your gender or something like that, right? Like I would feel if I was in a room of strangers, I would probably go towards the Asian people for whatever reason first.
Yeah,
and be like,
yeah, me too.
yeah, like, hey, how are you? So if you are an outsider going into this field of study and you know that you love science, but you don't see yourself there, there's no way that you're going to feel included. And maybe you don't see yourself there because you don't realize that there are people like you there.
I totally agree. And I hope your curriculum will be a success.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
so, yeah, Nisa, thank you so much for talking with me and also sharing your story and also your really precious advice regarding like raising children with a multicultural background. Because I think nowadays we live in such a globalized society and everyone has like bits from different cultures, and it's so
Yeah.
important like to cherish it and also to teach children and younger generations that it's totally fine to have like a mixed background.
Yes, exactly. As we're wrapping up our talk, I don't know, would it be okay if I give some plugs for some books that have really helped me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Which books can you recommend?
Well, and these are not sponsored at all. I'm just thinking about just like the things, the things that like when you are having trouble figuring out a problem, like sometimes it's just easy to you can go on social media, but then you can also go read a book. And I think that when I got married and was thinking about having children, I knew that I had to resolve some of my emotional turmoil that I had with my parents growing up. There are not a lot of books out there that talk about Southeast Asian, specifically Thai American experiences with their first generation parents. Like, obviously, all those words I just strung together are a very niche field. But there's this one by, I think he's an English professor. His name, hold on, let me find it. His name is Ira Sukrungruang, and his book is called Talk Thai: The Adventures of Buddhist Boy. And if you are a Thai American, especially if you're first generation, I highly recommend reading this book. It came out in 2011. I found it on Amazon. It's one of those like small print produced kind of books like that professors sometimes will print. So it's not like you probably won't find it in Barnes and Noble, or people don't go to Barnes and Noble anymore. I don't know what I'm talking about. And he talks about growing up Thai American in the Midwest in like the 90s. And it's so relatable because like there's so many things like that I never understood about my parents that he lays out perfectly. And then I'm like, wow, this is very same. So that book, there's Permission to Come Home, which is a book about Asian American mental health. Actually, I don't know if it's Asian American specifically, but it's definitely Asian mental health. That one's really good too. So, if you're trying to figure out your stuff before you bring a human into the world, or even just in general, those are good.
Regarding this topic, I barely know any like books who tackle these kind of topics, especially like raising a kid with a like Asian mixed background or even like a mixed background. Most of them are like only focusing on children's like behavior and how to tackle this and how to deal with emotions when it comes to children. But most of them also neglect the aspect of culture and like heritage, especially in Europe. I'm not really sure if you guys outside know any interesting books regarding this topic. Please put like a comment down there.
Definitely. I need to add more to my bookshelf too. So I would love to read more on these things. But yeah, I think it's they're hard things to find because I think that, it's just recently with our generation that we're really starting to want to write about these things rather than keep them hush hush and keep them under the covers. So
I will put Nisa's book recommendations down below in the description so you guys can check them out on Amazon or other online websites. And thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story, Nisa. It was really my pleasure to talk with you. And if you have heard until this point, thank you so much, guys, for listening to THAISPORA. Don't forget to like, subscribe the show, and yeah, see you next time. And thanks you again. ขอบคุณมากค่ะ
agreed.
Feel like falling deeper. Cold nights 난 너무 싫어.